Call the meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Ms. Dolan?
Here.
Ms. Belisca? I don't think this is on.
I don't think they're on. Present.
Okay, we'll just talk loudly. Mrs. McKnight?
Here.
Mayor Morgan?
Here.
Mrs. Jeffrey?
Here.
Mr. Comiskey?
Here.
Let's salute the flag.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Check two.
This is a public meeting in the Borough of New Providence, County of Union, State of New Jersey. Adequate notice has been given in accordance with PL 1975, Chapter 231. The annual notice of revision was made in conformance with Section 13 of the Act.
Nobody's cell phone's next to the thing, right?
Just for time. Tonight we have a presentation by for the Department of Public Works Building, and Mr. Lynch, if you want to come up.
Yes, sir.
And it's nice to see a lot of you from Public Works here so we can see what we're talking about doing.
All right, I appreciate the special consideration, my very own meeting,
Yeah.
and the early start, and then we'll get an early finish
You're
too.
the star tonight.
And the last presentation you had, I promise it won't. Come on, I got color slides first of all. So
Nobody can hold the candle from the candle.
Kinley should put it out. All right, 10 Park Place, the Department of Public Works. Now, in a perfect world, we would build the new facility elsewhere on the property, maintaining our shop until the project's completed. We can't do anything else on this property. So the map, what you really need to know by the map is there's floodplains, there's the power company. Our footprint is what we're limited to. So we have to go right back where we were with this facility. Okay, limited flood. So we will need to create a temporary staging area, so we need to vacate. So we're gonna clean house, a good time to clean out the garage. So this temporary staging area, I had reviewed with a few of you, will be 3 40-foot containers. And they will sit on presently an area it's basically paved. It'll be shaped in a U, and we'll have a Quonset hut type tent structure that covers the middle portion of it. This provides us, the trailers provide secure storage, and the tent area provides us a out of the weather covered storage.
Can you say that again? 3 what?
3 40-foot, the C boxes,
See what-
we have them on the property already. So they're the piece of a tractor trailer without the wheels. So they make very good dry and secure storage. So our plan is to contract with a turnkey vendor through a state co-op. One contract for the complete scope, the design, the demolition, construction, and fit out. Similar projects would require a separate contract for the design professionals and the construction team at a minimum. Our project doesn't require an architect for the design, and the structure is a pre-engineered product. The manufacturer, Butler Buildings, is specific to this co-op purchase. So we would otherwise have a minimum of 2 different contracts that we would need to advertise for and manage and approve those vendors. So the state's done that work for us. The existing structure we're all familiar with. So the closest portion of this building is the office, and this would have been the original structure. The office and the first 3 bay doors would have been built somewhere around 1950. The 4th overhead door, and in addition to the office, was later added, and then 3 subsequent additions. So at the time we had property, at the time we didn't have the flood limitations, we kept adding to this building. The most recent, the 1970 addition, would be the furthest away, the taller section that allowed for taller indoors, but at the time they didn't increase the door height, so that was an afterthought later on. If you go back and you can see some alterations made, we actually went and cut those door openings larger after the fact. The interior. So it's limited. Everyone has seen this. It wasn't built for today's trucks. So what's significant in this picture is the lowest portion is not necessarily the overhead doors. It's this steel beam right down the center that supports the roof load. So when we are preparing for a storm, these trucks are preloaded with salt. As they back in, that steel beam is actually working like a screed and taking off the top layer of salt, which inevitably ends up on top of that steel beam. And the next concern would be every day is the truck can only back in to this point that you see because the canopy over the cab is higher than the clearance underneath that steel beam. So I've limited access in front of this truck when it's in because I can't back all the way back. I'll try and slow this down. I know you waited a long time for it. All right, facilities. Aside from the aesthetics, the limited available seats lead to a lost work time. The crews return in groups, and the first thing that everyone needs to do is get on a line. So what does this equate to? Lost productivity. As the director down there, I hate to see that, but we're working with what we've got right now. In the future, the new plan, the shiny plan, will have ADA compliant facilities for both male and female employees. The ready rooms. So our employees need this space for their breaks. They need the locker space for their workwear, their boots and rain suits. This is the only area provided to them during storm response. Typically called in advance of the storm, they need comfortable, ready space. We need to get the employees into this building so when that ice hits the road, they're already safely at work. No excuses. Now, maybe some of the real issues are not evident when driving past, walking past this building, even looking through it. But when we look closer at what matters, the foundation and the roof structures, we see red flags. The deteriorating cinder blocks in that top picture, the flat wood roof frame, and this is not a lack of maintenance. This is the fact that the building's almost 80 years old and there's wear and tear. We've been moving and maintaining heavy equipment on a daily basis for those 80 years. So that, for an example, that picture at the top there, the fire extinguisher, what we're really showing is the cinder block. So the cinder blocks, that's a section between two of the overhead doors. Down at the ground level, now this is holding up the rest of the building. They truly were cinder blocks, so they made these out of cinders, and today it would be a concrete block. It won't rot out like this. So when we think about, well, can we save this building? Can we build on top of it a little bit higher? This would be one of the main reasons we couldn't save this structure. So it's not that we've done nothing over the 80 years. It showed you the renditions of how the main garage has grown with our needs. And we have added when and where possible. We've just run out of room now. Like I said, that footprint, that is our limitation. The trucks and equipment keep getting bigger. Not unlike what we've gone through with the fire department, fire trucks and the first aid, the ambulances. We had to build bigger buildings to accommodate them. So in the short term, maybe we can custom order some vehicles that fit into these tighter spaces. But ultimately, we need to build bigger. We need to protect our investments. Economics drove this decision. We considered phasing the construction. An early plan save the mechanics bays, the new addition from 1970 that had the taller ceilings. You know, there was an advantage to that. We could keep a critical operation going. The mechanics, they're servicing not just the public works vehicles, but all the municipal vehicles. So what happened with that was there's a demising wall between what we were going to tear down and saving the mechanics base. Well, now that wall had to be shored up because it's now standing on its own. Now we had to provide utilities to this building. So we needed sewer, water, gas, electric. That became expensive. And then the worst case was when I constructed a new building next to this piece I was saving, I had to stay at least 12 feet away for the construction process. So I was giving up valuable floor space. But ultimately, the economics were, if I can take it all down in one day, one demolition project, and reconstruct once, the crane comes in once, it's just too easy to get to the numbers that says, you know, this is the smart way to build this. Get this out of the way, build new. This would be our building. On the left side would be the office space. So it's laid out as it is today. The offices to the left, you see they extend to the rear, and the garages. It's the very footprint that we have today. Like I said, we're limited floodplain. You can go back, just like when they rebuilt Friendly's into a bank, they could save that footprint. Don't ask to go further. So we're keeping it simple. We're putting it back where it was.
So the same number of bays?
It actually turns out to be the same number of bays. They're more useful bays. Some of them now just open into, like down at the end, there's where the mechanics bay again, the new piece. There's the equivalent of 3 bays, but the center one is a machine shop, so it doesn't have its own overhead door. So today the way it functions is if I fit 3 trucks in, the first 2 have to back to the sides, tuck out of the way behind the door, and then the third one follows through.
So
So
the same bays, more doors.
correct. All right, so a new foundation is required for this design. You'd think, wait, there's a concrete slab there, but the masonry building that's there spreads the load equally for the length of the building. This Butler building has steel trusses every 14 feet, call it. So now I have a point load. So that is what's called referred to as a spread footing. So there's no reusing the foundation that's there is the short answer to that. With this building, the first 4 foot out of the ground would be a split face block. And that's the same block that we used on the 2 recent garages that we built for wastewater. The advantage to that is it provides an interior and exterior finish with one element. The outside's a rough finish, the inside's a smooth face cinder block, cement block, not cinder. From the 4 foot up and the roof, they're pre-painted metal panels. They're insulated, so there's a very efficient thermal value to these panels. That picture, that's on my next page, not yours. These are not our structure, but this is the Butler building. We have a very similar scenario to the top picture where our conference room has these vision lights that look into the future mechanics bay. Same thing. There's 4 doors here. We'll have 8 doors. But what's important is the pitch roof. So we're getting away from the flat roof. So the maintenance is gone. Water issues in the future are gone. This is painted steel. And this is very similar, actually. This might be short of the 4 foot out of the ground. We might be another course or 2 out of that. All right, so what does this give us? We have reinforced concrete floors in the bay areas. Today, the way that building was built over a number of years, every time we did an addition, there was a step at the door. So for multiple reasons, steps are bad in a building. One, we will now have a continuous garage floor where they can move something, a piece of equipment, from end to end without going out of the building. And for safety reasons, the floor's a flat floor. In the ready room, the break room, the bathrooms, it'll be epoxy finished concrete. High durability, easy to maintain. Hope somebody will mop or come in and blast it with a hose. There will be, of course, the efficiency of the roofing and the wall insulation. And you can't give any credit to what's there today, but that was okay at one time. Be high efficiency radiant heating. Today we have several. You don't want to blow hot air into an open garage. You want it, what we've done in the ambulance bays and the firehouse bays is radiant gas tubes that heat the objects rather than just the air. High efficiency. LED, high bay LED shop lighting. See what they're doing. See what they're working on inside this. I got to my last slide, and I'll say again, the low maintenance exterior with a pre-finished metal panels and a sloped roof. It's a prize. So when I say that we don't need the architect, and that this is a pre-engineered building. So it's pre-engineered to the fact it's a kit, but everyone is a different size. But they know what the stress, the rating for all these steel channels, the system is. So we told them, here's our footprint, and like you saw from the that's the steel structure, block wall steel structure. It will be new, it will be shiny. There's no bells and whistles though. We took the space that we needed. We needed obviously an office space. We need secure space for equipment storage. We needed facilities for the employees. Open to questions.
I have a couple. I'm looking at the rendition there. In the bays, are there walls between the bays?
No, this is clear.
That's a good thing.
Yes.
So you're right, they can go right through. The other thing.
The first three bays, I'm sorry, to your left, will have a mezzanine. So that'll be
okay.
What's that?
Second floor.
A loft,
Yeah.
Oh, above
a
the
set of
garage.
stairs
Above the
So
bay.
from the left, closest
across
to
the back, right? Just for multiple layers of storage.
Right.
closest to the office.
Correct.
Okay. The other thing, I think it's important that the public knows, how long is the
Construction?
the construction, and how long will that building last?
Both easy questions. So it's a 7-month process. The design happens relatively quick. They have enough information to go by. Fabrication, a lot of this is stock pieces. 7 months for the construction. So include this contractor does the demolition. The clean out might be an issue, but lots of hands. So so as soon as we're ready to go on this, we will construct this temporary Quonset hut. The tooling goes into the 3 containers. What has to stay dry is underneath this tent structure.
Right.
The office facility will take advantage of the old Borough Hall. At first it was like, well, how hard could it be to get a trailer right outside in the driveway and move the offices? Because I do have a lot of IT. We have all the park cameras that go through that building. We're going to pop them into a trailer. But it quickly came, it's $100,000 it was to move this, basically just to set up the trailer and take it away when we're done. So, you know what? It's $100,000 we didn't need to spend. We have some space that it can accommodate the office. And longevity. So similar to your house, everything is built for 50 years. And in that 50 years, it's expected that you do everything over again. So if you think about your own home, it's very practical. You're doing the roof, you're doing the kitchen probably twice, you're doing the bathrooms 3 times. you've done the roofing and the siding and windows, so 50 years. But it's not to say that this can't go for 100 years if it's,
No, I think that,
Continue to
that's
invest.
important that the public knows because, we have to fund this thing and we want to make sure that this building is going to last 40, 50 years
right.
into the future. So,
So warranty wise, right, what you'll get is the 50 years, and
okay,
it's up to you to stretch that out and
right.
put a coat of wax on your car, it'll last longer.
Before I make any comments, I think we speak for everyone here. It's great to see all you guys here.
Thank you.
We don't get to thank you guys enough for everything that you do throughout the town. We completely appreciate it, and it's rare to have everybody. I know we see Ralph and a couple of you guys all the time, but thank you for all that you do. We know how hard you guys, what effort you put in, and just makes this town as great as it is because of you guys. Couple questions, Keith. Thank you for answering a lot of my questions.
That helped, yep.
Does that area flood a lot? The reason I'm even asking the question, is this an opportunity just to raise the building a little bit and ramp into these bays? Just if you need to steal a foot or two just to get a higher, elevation?
So we do actually, as I mentioned, when we constructed over the past 50 years, we built on the ground that was there, and we have 3 or 4 steps. We're leveling it, so ultimately, the end closest to the salt shed will raise almost 2 feet.
Okay.
And you'll notice at the end of the Public Works building now, there is a retaining wall there between the garages and the salt bay. So now we'll get that parking lot up to a
One
level.
other question.
But flooding wise,
Yeah.
so the Passaic River in our end, it swells, but no, the water's not correct. There might have been water on the other side of the fence,
Okay.
but
Just if you're building a new
we're in
foundation,
just the right
there's a
spot.
chance.
And flooding, and then floodplain might require that, but
Any need for, in the garages for lifts to raise any vehicles? Is that something you guys do like with a portable jack, or is this a time to put something in the foundation now that might give you guys?
so we have a lift. It's call it portable because there's not a post in the ground. Similar to an elevator, it needs to be certified every so often. It's due to that, so we will have that conversation with the vendor.
Okay. And my only other suggestion is put twice as many conduits as you might need, so you get a lot of spares in,
Right.
because over 50 years, you'll always need another line for something.
Sure.
So if you run a conduit, run a second one that's empty.
Understood.
But thank you for answering my questions.
Okay.
I sent Keith a bunch of questions ahead of time, and he addressed most of my concerns.
I have a question on this, the state-approved contractor. So you said it's like all in one, right? So they do they from start to finish, they do the electrical, they do the plumbing, they do everything. We don't have to go out and bid.
It's a little unusual because you think about the number of trades involved here. So they do have a design team, but that comes from the manufacturer. So the manufacturer is the one who has this state co-op. And then they have approved vendors to go install it for them. So yes, the vendor package is all inclusive. The design, the demolition you would think would have to be an outside, but no.
Do you know are we paying a premium for that, or is it competitive?
Ultimately, we're not. When we did the square footage costs, and we had engineers from Colliers look at that, it is whether it's $300 a square foot for construction, it's very competitive. I think we're saving on the front end by not paying $100,000 to the architect for the design. We didn't need somebody. I don't have a lot to work with here. I couldn't get creative. I couldn't, somebody
Is this
couldn't
the
go.
only, manufacturer in the co-op? Do they have a competitor?
No, that's it.
Right.
So they were smart about it.
Sure.
From business.
Well, Butler Buildings, I don't know if they've been in business for 100 years or not, but that's it. That's the name across the country is Butler Buildings.
It's all the warehouses you see on.
Well, it's not limited to it's school buildings, it's municipal buildings. They have a nice portfolio. If you go to Butler Buildings, their site, no, it's not just garage space. Ours is very basic.
Do you guys have a plan for during construction how you're going to operate? I know you did a lot of hands to move out, but logistically, how, you know.
Like if you dump everything into these boxes, how do you get to it?
You're right.
Right?
So the boxes have to be outfitted. Yes, I have to leave an aisle down one side and 4-foot shelves. Yes, 3 shelves high, times 40 foot in depth.
It's
There's
a lot
room.
of stuff you got.
So there's plywood and 2x4s necessary, and yes.
Did I hear you
But
say something?
again, so we're going to save these. This will work for us in the future. Things that don't need to go back into that building. You know, the shovels and pickaxes.
So, did you say that those boxes are staying?
Yes,
Okay, and they'll be used for storage?
they'll remain as is.
Are we buying those? Are they part of the deal? Like, how does that work?
It's not the same contractor. We're doing most of this ourselves. We have the C boxes. If we need another one,
We already own them.
Oh,
We
yeah.
own the seat.
Okay.
so it's this tent structure. So
Not that expensive.
yeah.
Did I hear you say something about tents?
Well, it's so
What's
there's
a
a
tent? What is that?
Well, a quant. So now the trailers are 40 feet apart with one across the back to create there's 3 walls now. So this tent is a dome
Oh,
You know,
with,
like the soccer domes, like the
No,
bubbles.
well, it won't be held up by
I'm trying to
air.
picture. I can't.
She's not
It won't-
she's
it
not
won't be-
Cub Scouts or Boy Scouts.
Metal poles make the arc.
like a temporary
Stretch this
garage,
fabric
you put a
over it.
driveway on
I got it.
Yeah, that's it. And yet
It's
it'll
either
sit on
north
top.
where it snows
Right.
a lot.
Yeah, like a carport.
Yeah,
Yeah.
gotcha.
And it sits on top of the trailer boxes, so it's already 10 foot off the ground. And
To
then it's this
protect
roof
it?
structure.
From what, leaking and water?
No,
The center.
that gives me something to anchor it to
Oh,
and gets me sidewalls.
gotcha. I'll have to come see because I can't
Oh,
visualize it.
A beauty to behold.
I'm not good at visualizing construction stuff.
So what's gonna go under the tent then? So you're gonna have stuff in boxes and then what's gonna go
That's
under
where
the
they're gonna
tent?
have their parties.
Oh. Okay,
In the short term, that's where they're working on a vehicle.
okay.
It's out of
That's
the
where they'll
weather.
be doing work.
Yes. Long term, I can put all the salt spreaders on, now they're out of the weather, but not in a garage.
Okay, so with the metal garage so we went down for a visit, there's a lot of stuff in those garages. So now a lot of that stuff is gonna be in the boxes?
Correct.
Okay. And the 7-month window that you mentioned with the project, is that all encompassing of getting all the stuff out of the garage, demolition, putting it
No, the 7 months is for the contractor.
Break the ground.
We need to pack up, build this temporary shed.
How long do you think the clean out will take?
What could it take? It's a matter of manpower, just moving, most of them are big items, whether it's an asphalt spreader,
It's a lot of stuff.
rollers, everything just,
A lot of stuff.
yes,
It's a lot of stuff.
sure.
Are you sure it'll all fit in those 3 containers? You said you might need a 4th?
No, then anything else would be outside, underneath the cover piece,
Okay. Some other cover piece, not the tent.
under the tent. Because now that's 40 by 40. So that's a large
Right, but you
space.
said that's
So
where they have to
the-
take the trucks
yes,
and
they're
vehicles to
working
work
on
in
the
there.
center portion of that. There's room.
Do you know, is there a local example of this building, Butler Building? Any local examples around that you've been to, that you've,
There's gotta be.
There's gotta be,
Any
yes.
metal building is. been all over.
I'm not familiar with them.
I'm just wondering if there's another, municipality that's used them that can share their experience with working with this vendor.
If they're in the state co-op, they would have to be working with other municipalities, so we should be able to find some examples, I would imagine.
Fenton Construction is the group that would actually, they're a very large commercial building contractor. Very familiar in New Jersey. Again, this is a small project for them, but they still jumped right to it.
Keith, was there, I think early on you mentioned, or there's Carmen, about the electric, is there an electric component to this? Do you have to do anything with the generator, or are you guys?
No, we will actually go into that electrical distribution trailer behind and drop the switch.
I see.
Then the whole building's
That's all it
dead.
is. Okay.
So that feeder that comes out off the underside of that trailer out into the building, it goes right back in the same location. We also expected to reuse some of that switch gear because that's less than 10 years old, and nobody wants to work with used equipment. He said it's a fuse panel. He said no, we'll just specify
Sorry.
replacing.
Mm-hmm.
Any disruption to the wastewater treatment plant?
No, so the generator stays in the backup. That's the backup power to both buildings, and that stays online.
And our recycling operations,
They're far enough away.
Yeah. While they're doing the construction, will they still have that open?
Might have to be a conversation with the county. Can we temporarily use that entrance again off of Passaic? Because yes, the staging area will be the driveway where everyone would come through. I think on a short-term basis, understanding obviously you're building a new building, yeah, we'll go back and let you.
During construction, will the vehicles be entering from, say,
Unofficially, but yes, I have a steel delivery, yeah, they have to come in that way, right,
Not the day-to-day.
yes.
Will they be able to get through with the bridge?
Oh, that bridge is gonna be done for June, isn't it?
I'll say that.
You're moving along with it though.
There is still,
I have
there
to
is
say-
still access to that driveway.
Yeah.
Although yesterday they had the pieces of concrete bridge stacked up while
Okay.
they're crushing them, so
Yeah,
they are moving along.
all right. Any other questions?
Yeah, I still have a few. I'm just wondering if, I mean, the decision to take down the entire building just assumes that there's nothing that can be salvaged or kept where it is.
Correct.
Okay,
So we started with the roofs, okay, if only the roof was too low, okay, put 4 more courses of cinder block on top and raise the roof. But we looked at the condition of the walls. It's the base of those walls that has failed or is failing. So no, there's no saving the walls to raise the roof. Then we talked about the foundation, the slab doesn't work with, the current building allows for the load to be spread over the entire length of both front and rear walls. When it's this steel construction, it's only where the trusses land, which is between every garage door. There's a post that goes up and down about the other side. So that needs a single large footing just for that bearing point. So the footings don't work any longer.
So even if you wanted to go up, the foundation will support.
Foundation comes out, right.
and in the office building, none of that is going to be saved. None of the shelving and the office furniture, like the
I think
whole
they should
thing
save
is.
the paneling.
Like
I never-
repanel the new building. Yeah. No, I'm just are you including
No,
replacement office?
there's no furniture in this. There are
Right, so
new
you'd have to
bathrooms.
you'd have to replace that.
Reuse, replace, yeah.
Okay.
It's a matter of a conference table, which is there. The refrigerator is there and 3 desks, so it's enough to get started with.
Okay, and you said you would. You're talking about moving into the empty building next
Yes.
to the EMS for the office component.
Right,
Right, because there would be no bathroom facilities for the guys over there once the building is down, right?
we'd have to provide a portable,
Porta potty?
yes. The construction crew will have their own, but because we are operating out of that yard, we'll have to provide those. They won't be heated seats, but
And I haven't had the opportunity to tour the wastewater treatment plant, but is there any expectation that the DPW employees would have access to their facilities if they needed it for certain reasons? I don't know why they might, but there's no bathrooms in there?
Oh, there is.
Oh.
It's just not that big, you know.
No, I'm just,
it's very limited in size, right? There's a control room and there's a bathroom. That might be all. Other than that, it's equipment. It's a shelter for the pumps. Yeah, they don't have the facilities that we have here.
Okay. And then the question nobody's asked is how much is this, what is your quote for the cost of the building, and what are the risks of not doing anything?
The risks. Well, let's start with, so I was able to give this contractor a footprint, so he has square footage, so that any numbers that they've given to us so far are with the understanding, I need you to take that down and put this new one in its place. So on the high end right now, we're at 4.5 million. And that's inclusive of,
Does the 4.5 include clearing the space for them, or is it 4.5 just for their portion?
no, they are taking out the
Well, they're
building.
doing that.
Yes,
It's everything.
you're right, so the front end, yes,
So it's just purely turnkey.
correct.
But did you
Including the design then too, for that matter. The architect's fees are in that.
but did you just say like the bathrooms and the lockers, the kitchen appliances, the furniture, that's not included in the
No,
4.5?
that the desks would not be included, the conference table and a refrigerator, but maybe we can get them the kitchenette is there. The conference room is there. No, the offices are, the floors are done in epoxy, there's acoustical ceilings. No, we come in and turn on the light switch and,
And you take the disco ball.
I'm sorry?
You take the disco ball.
You remember that.
But the
I can't get in
fixtures, like sinks, toilets, that's all.
Bathrooms are completed, bathroom, showers, and lockers, for that matter, yes.
Okay. So those are all.
What would be your ideal start time? Like now, or like would it be through the summer, or?
We have an opportunity to have the building enclosed before winter and then finish the building. You know, if
So you
I-
would like to start
immediately, yes.
Do you have to start, did you wait a year or two? I think that was, yeah, just throwing it out.
Nothing has fallen down today, yes. Are they working in conditions they shouldn't be? Yes. Have they continued to without complaint? Yes. Is it right? To be determined. So
Actually, a question.
costs won't go down though.
It can only go up.
They're-
So
It's
just
proven.
a question about the offices. You had mentioned using over at the Lassa Swirly space.
Yes.
What needs to be done to that building to facilitate your usage of it?
That's actually set up very nicely. The newer portion of that building works just the way it is. It's not a lot of people.
Yeah, we were told, at least when the police department's moving over there, that there does need to be some renovations, a couple $100,000 put into it to just make it functional. Would you
They're
also
going
have-
on,
would we also have to
let's
do that?
consider them a more permanent operation and the number of people going over there. So Public Works doesn't have people sitting in an office. Ralph needs a phone, so I need 3 phones over there. I need someplace for him to plug in a computer. The police need the locker rooms.
Oh, yeah, they
The
need
police-
a whole bunch of
right,
stuff. But
for
it's-
17
so
people
no
at a
cost.
time.
So no cost for DPW to use classes.
Correct. Basically no cost for them to
Just a
use
vacuum
the glasses.
Maybe a dust cloth.
Just cloth for vacuum?
A couple of buckets, the ceiling still leaks, right?
Yeah,
Dust traps.
yeah, the ceiling leaks a little.
Hey Keith, real quick, just thinking about cost and equipment and things of that nature. I think and correct me if I'm wrong, there's probably some equipment that we keep outside, and there's some trucks that are probably sitting out in the elements and things of that nature that potentially over time we could save money, if you will, by
The longevity of,
elongating
yes,
the
absolutely,
equipment by being able to store it properly.
yes.
So
And then back
there's-
to productivity. So when they have to work on one of the larger dump trucks, that doesn't fit in the mechanics bay now. They have to move 3 other vehicles out of a larger area and pull a dump truck in on a diagonal to work on it. So, okay, so the first hour is shuffling vehicles around. Okay, so,
I think it's important to keep that in mind in terms of, dollars and cents, right?
So, along that
Self-cost, too.
line, are there any safety deficiencies now? I know Bernadette mentioned, that it's not fire, what did you say,
Fire suppression system.
Fire suppression system, so there's no currently there's no fire suppression system, which is very important, but is there anything else that, you know, from a safety perspective, where we at now that's, you know, just, you know, another reason for doing the project?
You know, leaks can be managed. We can mop it up every day it rains. The building's tired. The building's done.
I think you guys mentioned insurance, maybe.
You know, the building itself is over 70 years old, a good portion of it. And let's face it, it's the building that's down there that nobody sees. And, you know, I don't want to say we neglect it, but we don't put the shine on it like we do every other building in the borough. And I got to tell you that building has been there ever since I was a kid fishing off the dock down there. And, you know, with leaks, you get mold, you know, every leak you get in a roof, the wood starts rotting. You know, who knows what they're going to find in there when they knock this thing down. You know, as well as I know, if you know cinder block, that stuff starts deteriorating, it doesn't stop. And it's not going to hold that roof up that much longer. I mean, I know a little bit about building, and I know you do, Alex, and, you know, it needs to be done. And this is the time we have to do it. And, you know, I know we've been talking about this for years.
We've taken care of the small projects.
Right.
We've done the battery, the generator system.
Put in the
to
salt
protect-
barns,
We put in
did
the
all
extra.
sorts of stuff.
Yes, two new garages. Right.
Yeah,
But
but, you know, it's time. You know, I keep saying this, we're a service company. That's all we are. And if we're gonna give people in this borough proper service and efficient service, we need to have our equipment maintained properly. And we need our employees to have a safe place to work. And, you know, that's the way I look at it. And, you know, you can say this or that, but, you know, you bond this thing over 20 years, you know, it gets spread out. So 20 years from now, people will be paying for that building. That's why I asked about the longevity
Right.
of the building. It should be 50 years. And if you take care of it and do maintenance, maybe it'll last 70.
right, your warranty. They'll start calling you about your warranty expiring in 50 years.
Right. So, I mean,
First year.
it gets to a point where you can only put so many bandages on something. And you have to take care of business. There's a price of doing business. So,
Can I ask one more question?
Sure.
Sorry. Obviously, the town has grown a lot since the DPW building was first built, and now we've added on and added on. And we expect that the town will continue to grow. And yet, you said we have to stick with the same footprint for the DPW building. Is there any reason to think that we will outgrow the space of DPW based on the population growth?
I think the public works is a function of the borough itself. You know, what's important to them is how many miles of streets we have, how many storm basins we have. The residents, definite impact to the schools, not so much to the public works. So we have equipment that functions and works for our 2 or 4 square miles, and that's not changing. So
Okay.
I think we're still okay with that.
Okay, thank you.
that was a good question. Because people really, you know, they don't understand that you need those trucks in those bays. And, you know, like you said, we have a growing population here. And for us to provide service for additional population, we need to be efficient and cost effective. And by covering up our trucks and maintaining them the right way, that's how we provide more efficient service. And I like to see these guys smile.
That's a stretch.
Yeah.
Last question.
It's against company policy.
You might have, I might have missed it, you might have answered it, so sorry in advance. The Butler building, obviously turnkey, very efficient, versus the masonry construction that you did for the other two standalone garages. Any difference in cost, or is that not even worth pursuing? I'm
Yeah,
assuming
no.
it's cheap, this is the cheaper option.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Because of the engineering factor, right.
Yeah, material costs and type of
Yes.
construction probably, right?
It's a kit. It's basically a kit, yes, so.
What do our surrounding DPWs have? Like, what does Summit have? I think I was at the Long Hill one. It seemed sort of like what we're looking at for the new one we're looking at. But
It's kind of like,
If anybody has something
I've
new
never been to
in the
Summit.
area. Mm,
really, I went to Berkeley Heights one time.
No. Anybody been on a tour? Some garages now.
just
One
curious.
thing I like about this is that everything's gonna be at one level. So you can move equipment back and forth, and it's a safety issue. So I know that just those little steps, it's bad. You can trip over it, you can do a lot of different things, so. That's the good part about this,
Okay,
the safety part.
good. All right. Well, thank you for gathering tonight to hear it out. All right, appreciate the
Thank
time.
Any of you guys have any questions? Okay.
Thank you.
I mean,
Thank
you know, we go ahead with this, you're the guys that are gonna have to work there, so.
You're gonna be displaced.
Okay. Good. Okay. Any other,
Are you gonna draw straws for who's gonna be mopping the floors?
House jobs.
Yeah.
House jobs.
Who has to clean out the refrigerator every Friday? Old lunches.
Last time, yeah.
Okay,
Whoever the intern is.
I will close the public comments, and we don't need any, formal action, so make a motion for adjournment.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Yes.
Great. Thank you all, thank you guys for coming down and, I did, I thanked you before you came.
Oh, you did, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, it's fine. Yes.